Welcome back to Sports Radio 95.9 The Fan. My name's Mark, and yes, this is the Mark Moses Show. Weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. Right now here on the Club 52 hotline. Very nice man up there in Gainesville. Covers the Florida Gators and the SEC for ESPN.com. His name is Jeff Barlis, and give him a follow on Twitter at Jeff Barlis ESPN. Jeff, how you doing today?
Good, Mark. Thanks for coming on.
All right, I appreciate coming on, and let's start here. I thought we just ended the college football season. We're already back at spring practice. I mean, what has the time gone, my friend?
Oh, this is just how God intended down here in the South.
No, it's a good point. And are you excited the Gators are back out there, especially with all the moves they made with the coaching staff?
Well, it certainly injects a lot of excitement into the spring. I don't think anybody wanted to see any more of the offense that had been toiling for the last couple of years. So that and some exciting new players and a lot of open practices up here will I think, bring out a number of fans. And this weather, you really can't beat this for spring practice to open up and have perfect temperatures, and it's just gorgeous.
Well, you talk about Will Muschamp, head football coach of the Gators. Is there a sense, even though you hired Kurt Roper to be the new offensive coordinator, is there a sense there like, hey, we like you, but you better start winning football games this fall? I mean, what is the feeling there in Gainesville?
I think that is a cloud that sort of hangs over the program a little bit, but spring is a time of renewal, so I don't get the sense that it's going to be something people will talk about much. This is really a chance for the team to turn the page. All the players, the coaches, there's a lot of optimism. I think every team is optimistic in the spring. Every team, every head coach says we had a successful spring and can list a number of goals that they accomplished. It all doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's a good way to pass some time in the off season, and it'll all be a lot more relevant in the fall when they start practicing before games, and obviously those results will speak volumes about the future. There's no doubt that Will Muschamp is under a microscope this fall.
We're here with Jeff Barlis. ESPN.com covers the Gators and the SEC, and we talked right there a second ago about the hiring of Kurt Roper, offensive coordinator from Duke. Now he's going to be doing the calls for the Gators. You wrote a good article about the Roper effect, so you got to give it for my listeners. What exactly is the Roper effect going to be this fall?
Well, there are a couple of things that I think he brings to the table, and thanks for reading, by the way.
No worries, man.
Well, I really think the number one thing, there's basic excitement. A lot of players didn't know who Kurt Roper was. I think most fans didn't know who Kurt Roper was. But when he was hired by Florida, there was this great showcase of being able to turn on the Chick-fil-A Bowl in Atlanta there and watch Duke, little tiny Duke, go up against an SEC Goliath in Texas A&M. And Texas A&M's defense has some issues they had all season, but Duke's offense really performed well against an SEC defense. Ultimately, they didn't win that game. Johnny Manziel took over in the second half, but the point was made that Kurt Roper knows how to call plays and design an offense with that takes advantage of the players that he has, and I think that's a big reason why. One of the main things he brings to Florida is optimism that this is a guy who can get the job done and at least start to resuscitate this offense, because you can't help but look at Duke compared to Florida and say, Florida's got more talent. So what can Kurt Roper do with more talent? He inherits a Florida program, a number of players on offense who were recruited for Urban Meyer's spread. A couple of key guys like Jeff Driskel, the quarterback, who really fit into a spread offense. So one of the other things that Kurt Roper brings is an up-tempo style. I think that this is where Will Muschamp has made his biggest personal change. It's no great epiphany when you're losing to suddenly say, we need to really fix this offense. And one of the basic things you can see is that if they can call more plays, if they can have a few more cracks at some big plays on offense, that's going to, that's just common basic logic that's going to help. The final thing I think Kurt Roper brings to Florida is a sense of a veteran in charge, someone who has a lot of experience in the SEC with Ole Miss, with Tennessee, with Kentucky. He's installed offenses before. This is nothing really new to him. And the way he runs practices, his mentor, David Cutcliffe, who is even more of an SEC veteran and warhorse, really spoke highly of Roper's ability to run practice in a very up-tempo, professional way. And you can't help but think Florida is going to benefit from all of these things that Roper's going to bring. And I think that'll be the big focus. The obvious thing that everybody sees this spring is just how different the offense will look.
We're here with Jeff Barlis, ESPN.com, covers the Gators and the SEC, and you can follow him on Twitter. It's a good one, Jeff Barlis, ESPN. Okay, I want to stick with the offense right there. You talk about Driskel, and I know Muschamp in his opening press conference here for the spring talked about the gun and, the difference between running and passing and how good they were last year in certain situations. Do you feel like, okay, we're going to see Driskel in the gun, but at the same time, this is still a running football team? I mean, what do you think is going to happen exactly?
Yeah, I think that a lot of those runs will be zone read options. Driskel was really good at that 2 years ago. In 2012, he and Mike Gillislee, had some very good chemistry. It's a tricky play, actually. If you watch a team like Auburn last year execute the zone read, it's kind of a thing of beauty to see, Trey Mason get the ball on a handoff, or the quarterback, his name's escaping me right now.
Marshall. Yeah,
right. Marshall, the ability for the quarterback to read the defense and instinctively know, I'm going to keep it, I'm going to hand it off, and to be able to do that seamlessly, not fumble the ball, which you would think happens more often. Driskel really did that well 2 years ago, and it was a big part of their success. Mike Gillislee ran for more than 1,000 yards, and that hadn't happened at Florida, for years. So one would think between Driskel and Kelvin Taylor this spring that's going to be a big part of their running game. I also think you might see a little bit of the pistol, which is a way for offenses to run the ball, kind of like a normal running play, just out of the shotgun. And yes, Florida will run the ball. I think a lot of fans are a little let down at the idea that this offense might resemble the 2012 offense a good bit, because that certainly was not a dynamic offense. But what you've got to look forward to if you're a Florida fan is that, yes, this is a running team, and yes, that's probably a smart thing to do because it's what the players do best. But Kurt Roper will, the hope in Florida circles is that Kurt Roper will bring an advanced passing game that you really haven't seen. They tried to run a pro-style offense in the past couple of years with Brent Pease and with Charlie Weiss. You're talking about two wide receivers and a tight end. Roper's going to open it up with more wide receivers than that. You'll see a lot more 3, 4, maybe even some 5 wide receiver sets. He really likes to stretch the field horizontally as well as vertically. So if you can, keep that running game at an elite level in the top 50 in the country, and really expand the threats in the passing game, it just doesn't have to be an air show for Florida to really, really improve.
We're here with Jeff Barlis, ESPN.com, covers the Gators, and we're talking spring practice headlines, and I want to stick with the offense still. The offensive line and the depth of the players that will be healthy this spring, and I know Muschamp was talking about that at his press conference. What are your thoughts on the O-line, and who do you think can really help and help Kurt Roper with his new offense for the Gators?
Well, he does. The offensive line, I think, is still a bit of an iffy spot. I think that there's. If you look at all the positions on Florida's overall roster, this is one of the few that still has some depth issues in terms of overall numbers. And you'd hate to see it, but a couple of, they're really a couple of injuries away from having a tough time scrimmaging. I believe Muschamp said they had 11 healthy linemen for spring, and some of those guys are coming off of significant injuries. You had Tyler Moore, who started half the season last year, but then broke his elbow. He's just coming back. Chaz Green missed the entire season with a torn ACL. I'm sorry, a torn labrum in his shoulder. And, that's a significant injury as well. So, Florida has to move some guys around, but what they do have going for them are 5 players who have starting experience, and most of them with extensive starting experience in the SEC. I think only one of them has, fewer than double-digit starts in NCAA football. So to have those 5 guys, again, you really have to focus on keeping them healthy, but that should give you the foundation of a good offensive line. Pass protection has been a big problem. They've really got to hope that the new offensive line coach, Mike Summers, who comes from USC last year, but really has I believe a 34-year resume as a veteran offensive line coach. If he can help improve Florida's pass protection techniques a little bit, I think they have the bodies and they've got the size to be good in the running game. So Florida's focus this spring, aside from improving pass protection and keeping these players healthy, really is going to be more in the area of developing depth. So they've got a number of young players. I think they have one junior college transfer who came back in December, and he's got a chance to crack that 2-deep rotation and make some noise as a reserve. I don't think any of the backups are going to challenge for starting jobs, but you never know. Spring is really a time for developing depth, so I think we'll see that with the offensive line.
Good stuff. Jeff, can I keep you on the line? I want to go to break, and then I want to come back, and I want to continue this conversation with the Gators and go to the defense. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll be back with Jeff Barlis, ESPN.com, talking Florida Gator football next.